Welcome to the Website Investor. I'm Jeff Hunt, and today we're going to talk about the seller's reason to sell their website. Well, anytime you look at a website listing or prospectus, almost always there's a section that says the seller's reason to sell, and that's really important for a lot of reasons. We want to know what their motive is, and particularly we want to know if it's legitimate or illegitimate. There are lots of legitimate reasons to sell a business, just like selling almost anything, right? Like some of them might include a partnership that's gone awry and they have no choice but to dilute the business, sell it off and part ways. Or it could be something like they're simply tired of running the business. They've done it for a long time. They have interest in something else. That's a perfectly legitimate reason to sell the business. Or quite frequently, people simply need cash. They need it and they need it soon, so they have to divest of the business to raise cash. So those are all legitimate reasons, and there are many other legitimate reasons for selling business. But what catches our attention is when people say a legitimate reason, but actually the true motivation is something entirely different. Maybe they see some bad signs coming ahead for the business. They know that there are policy changes by big players that are going to influence the business. They may know that there's a dependency that their website is dependent on something, and that person or that thing or that software is going away. Or there may be something really significant going on where the site just isn't very profitable based on the amount of work that they put into it, or there's lots of customer service involved and it's difficult customer service and they just don't want to deal with it, and there's all these underlying reasons that may exist that they don't tell you about, or that they deceive or even lie about. So you're kind of getting an idea of what's under the scene, what's behind the scenes that may not show up in the numbers, and that's why it's important to think about what the seller says for the reason for selling business. Now, don't get me wrong, you're still going to do your due diligence. You're still fundamentally going to make the decision based on what you see in the numbers, but the more that you can learn about the seller's motivation for selling, it gives you a lens to look at everything else. So if the seller has great integrity in talking about why they're selling, then chances are they have some integrity in the other data that they're showing you as well. And vice versa, if they don't have integrity about explaining the reasons for the sale, then what else are they telling you that you can't trust, right? So it gives you a lens to look through. Now, what do you do about this? How do you make that assessment? In a situation where you're doing a private deal with a seller and there's no broker that kind of sits between you and kind of in some ways clouds the communication or the sense that you get from the seller, then your main tool is asking questions. And you want to ask a lot of questions and just listen to what the seller says, how they answer those questions, how what they say compares to what they've said in the past or what they've written or what you've perceived from the numbers of the business, and start to get an idea, does the seller have integrity? Can you trust them? Because that really gives you information that you can apply to the other analysis that you do to the business. And while you're doing that, you want to be developing this relationship. I don't care if you're suspicious over the seller, you have a lot of doubts, or you think that they're lying to you. You still need to develop as positive a relationship as humanly possible with the seller, because the better your relationship is, the more authentic they're going to be, the more things they're going to tell you, the more doubts and worries and concerns and advice they're going to give you if you develop a good relationship with them. Secondly, if you follow through with the purchase of the business, you want a great relationship with that seller so that they can help you successfully transition and successfully start and grow the business after you become the owner of it. Now, if you're dealing with a broker, then you still need to use the same strategies, right? Except that you need to, first of all, focus on your relationship with the broker. Have the best possible relationship with the broker. Be courteous, be considerate, not any less demanding in terms of what you need to make your decision, but good brokers are going to help you, give you that anyway. But you want to have a great relationship with the broker, and then to the extent possible, you want to convey that relationship to the seller as well. You want to pass credit along where credit is due to the seller. They've built up the business to a certain point, and they deserve credit for that, right? So you want to be careful about the way that you phrase your questions, how many questions you ask. Make sure that they're very pertinent questions, and that the way that you ask them is is not critical, but they're asked in a way that is either neutral or complimentary or just seeking the truth and an answer, and not in any way like pointing fingers at the seller for why did you do this or why did you do it in that way. Those kind of questions are simply not helpful, because at the end of the day, you still want to have that relationship. Now, of course, if you're serious about the business and it has any significance in size, chances are you are going to be able to talk to the seller directly, maybe facilitated by the broker. And of course, in that case, all of the above applies. You still want to build that relationship to the greatest extent that you can and get underneath what they're telling you to try to assess, is there integrity in this person or is there not? And then use that as additional information to help you make that final decision on whether to buy the business. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a framework for how you can think about not just what they're telling you as their reason for selling the business, but just the other ways that you communicate with the seller to kind of get underneath, get more of the truth about who they are, about what the business is that they've built, so that you can make the best decision possible when it comes down to, are you making an offer and what kind of offer are you making? Hopefully that's helpful to you. Go to flipminds.com/today for tools and resources for your business, and I'll see you in the next one.